The ABC called Radio with Pictures, which was shot in sort of a grunge fashion with half-eaten hamburgers and cans of Coke sitting on top of the amps, and that was really good. It didn't last, I don't know why.
Nick Smith's hit scene at 10 past 2 on a Saturday on Channel 2. Oh, jeez, that was very very restrained, but yet Doug Parkinson on.
What was the difference between Spectrum and Murtceps, and what were the influences of bands?
Well, Spectrum came first, and we were managed by an agency that booked us into Birds and Sebastian's on a regular basis because nobody else would have it, and we just went backwards and often playing them on the same night, and going down the stairs at Birdie's was really hard with the Hammond organ. But we got to a stage where the 10 o'clock closing came and pubs became an option, and I thought that we really didn't have a future in pubs, so I thought I'd have to devise a band that with the same people with Spectrum backwards, Murtceps, so that we could play in pubs. So that was the basic idea behind that.
Agreed.
So the songs were shorter and they were more pub orientated.
Yeah, but still nobody liked that either. No, they just really they just thought that they're shorter songs, but they're the same as the other ones.
So who were your influences in Spectrum?
I have my own influences in music. I wrote most of the music, so I guess that came out in the music. But we didn't have any band that we were looking at. Like some people think Pink Floyd was an influence. Not really. I barely listened to them. So no, we just did our own thing, and that was what Brenden was saying before. People were prepared to listen in those days. If they'd never heard it, they go, "Oh, let's have a listen," but they don't have time to do it.
But you were quite psychedelic at one stage, would you say?
That was the trend, though.
That was the trend.
But no, look, when I first started, when Matt Lake started to really keep the straps and everything, and we decided we'd write original music, and I would not listen to anything other than our music for fear of parroting other people's stuff. And I was like that for years, and in fact I'm still a little bit like that now, because I still write, Michael writes, and that's the thing, that sometimes something can get stuck in your head, you can parrot, and everyone said, with songs, oh, it sounds a bit like them, or sounds a bit like that, and I was always fearful of that. I just wanted it to come straight from my brain, or whoever was writing it in the band.
I think at that stage a lot of us were also discovering roots too. I used to always go down, I played in a band when I was at RMIT, but once I started working in television, it was night work and I couldn't do that anymore. I used to go down to Discurio and buy those Roots reissues, the Delta Blues, and I think a lot of us found a grounding in that, and then bands like yours and bands like Spectrum put their own flavour on top of those roots.
Well, as a young kid, my early influences were soul music when I was really young, and then when I met Kerry, we were still together as mates. We met when we were 15 years old. He introduced me to the blues, and so my early stages I got very heavily into the blues. But as soon as we started writing songs, that was probably in me, that sort of grounding, but I really tried to write from the heart and not be too influenced.
There's so much good original music around in those days. Yes. Last question.
Yeah, Australian music really was something that sort of the evolution starting of it. A lot of thanks needs to be for yourself, the Duncans, John Fowler and Adrian, the professionals that came into the passion and the vision and everything they did to actually actually get it off the ground and make it work, and the appreciation, I don't think some of you have been probably rewarded for that, but also the roadies and everyone behind that. Adrian, I know COVID's sort of probably stopped all the live music, but did you want to touch on, I was going to ask you after how you're going to try to support the roadies?
Yeah, well, 2012 we realised this serious now. This is, sorry guys, but it's a passion of mine. We decided that we were going to do something about the suicides in the industry. We had 26 roadies that had killed themselves. So we got a reunion together at the St Kilda Bowls Club, which we got for $100. We got, I think it was 350 roadies turned up. They came from Bangkok, London, the States, hadn't seen each other for 40 years. It was an amazing day, absolutely amazing. Mike played at the first one. Thank you, Mike. And for nothing. And out of that, we've probably, I don't know, up to 5-6 reunions in each state around the country. But one of the things that happened probably 18 months ago is that we realised that legally or not illegally, a lot of these bands were recorded by their roadie. Now this is what we call a desk tape. And some bands did record at every show, but some guys just said, well, I want to have a listen to my band, I want to listen to it in the car when I drive home from the gig. We can use these tapes to work up songs, we can dub them off in the car and give them to the different guys when they're driving town to town to work on each day. So we collected about 1,000 of these cassettes off the guys. We said, what are you holding, boys? And the phone just started. And out of that we set up, to be a roadie you've got to push a black box for 5 years. So we set up Black Box Records, and it's owned by Arca. And then we put the desk tape series. Now over the last 18 months we've raised $62,500, 64.5. And that money's gone into welfare for guys. A lot of these guys die with no wills, no next of kin, no money. It's just unbelievable. And for putting all their heart and soul into the business. That's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, is to go say goodbye to guys in hospital and 8 hours later they're dead. Yeah.
Well, I think it's time that we should close out the evening with some more music from Mike and Brenden. I'd like to thank